Joe Scarborough had an epic faceplant while debating healthcare with the panel on his show. Let's watch.
You know, Gene's points are incredibly valid and sort of go against what Jonah's talking about here. It's not just healthcare where he adopted a Republican plan.
Oh, come on, guys. I can't hear that twice. I cannot hear that twice, that he adopted Republican plans on healthcare. You're going back to Mitt Romney. He did not engage Republicans at all in healthcare. They were shut out. It was the Democrats that were running there. That is a ridiculous argument. I have now I've protested. Now you guys go back to your
I just need to
No,
I wasn't talking about health care, Joe. I was talking about for 2 years, Joe.
Just to correct the record, there were many instances during the health care fight when the president struggled to get Republicans, to try to get Republicans to sign on to ideas they had proposed. They themselves had supported, and they wouldn't.
The president struggles.
But anyhow, that was years ago. That was some time ago.
Let's bring in our third person that's going to disagree with me, Robert Gibbs. Robert Gibbs, this president has not. It has seemed to a lot of observers, neutral observers, that this president has said, this is my position. Now you come to me. And I'm going to keep arguing and debating until you come to me. And it seems that he did it in the State of the Union address. Am I wrong? Go ahead, say I'm wrong. Look at all the liberals surrounding me.
No,
Go ahead.
I don't know why you picked me, bringing me into this argument to think somehow I was going to agree with you on this.
I have 6 liberals on this show to keep it fair.
So, so maybe if you go back to Jonah's list, it appears as if the trolling and baiting argument has worked pretty well on you. So maybe that is exactly what the president is.
No, it actually hasn't worked on me well at all. I'm right and you're wrong, and everything's fine. I'm supposed to just sit here and listen to you guys say that, like, the president's plan to turn health care over to the government's a Republican idea. You guys can live in that fantasy world if you want. I'm just going to sit here and smile.
That clip infuriates me. And Addicting Info is where I got this. They had a headline like, Joe Scarborough gets facts rained on him after he claims that Obamacare isn't a Republican plan. And I watched the whole clip. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. So the rest of the fucking so-called liberals on the panel were like, Joe, I disagree with you slightly, and I think that in many areas Obama's proposed Republican plans, and I think that you need to understand that. And Joe Scarborough's like, you are wrong, and I will tell you why. Okay, here's the reality. Joe Scarborough absolutely failed. What he said could not be more factually incorrect, and everybody on that panel should have called him out better, should have called him out more strongly, and should have given more specifics. So when he says, for example, it's a government takeover of healthcare. First of all, the furthest thing away from true. I wish it were true, but it's not, because government systems, according to world studies, are actually superior. If you believe the World Health Organization from the study in 2000, or if you believe the studies that came after that as well, you had 7 of the top 10 healthcare systems in the world are single-payer, government-run, universal systems. So I wish that was the case, but it's not the case. So understand, Joe, it's not an opinion. It's a fact that this is a Republican plan that Obama did. Again, I wish it wasn't. I wish he did single-payer, but it is a Republican plan. So it started with Nixon. Richard Nixon was the first one to propose an individual mandate plan. It was a mix of an individual mandate and subsidizing the lower income people who can't buy on the private market, or in other words, exactly what Obamacare is. Then later on, Bob Dole proposed it as the counter to Clinton Care, as it was called, which was a more progressive healthcare reform proposal. And then, of course, the Heritage Foundation wrote policy papers on it where they described in detail how they supported this kind of healthcare reform, and the reason why they supported it is that it kept the private system in place. That's why it's a conservative plan. That's why it's a Republican plan, is that you're not changing the fundamental structure of a for-profit capitalist insurance system. Again, I wish they would, but they didn't, so it's Of course a Republican plan for that reason and because they kept proposing it. Again, Nixon and then Dole and all the Republicans in the 90s, Chuck Grassley and Newt Gingrich vocally supported this. So to pretend like it's not a Republican plan, you just don't know your facts, Joe Scarborough. But he does this all the time. He always goes on air and screams in such a confident way, and he condescends to all the people who come on his show that disagree with him, but he's always totally wrong. Look, it's gotten to the point with Joe Scarborough that he shouldn't be on air anymore. I believe I'm a free speech absolutist. That doesn't mean, though, that you can get away with not doing your job right. He's just not doing his job right. When you portray yourself as a news show and you talk about these issues and then you're blatantly off base and wrong in many areas, you're not doing your job properly. And to the idea that Obama didn't negotiate, he went from single payer, right? And by the way, he gave up from day one on that. At least he had some people in the Progressive Caucus who were like, okay, no, we want single payer. We'll propose it, right? But it went from single payer. That was the Democratic proposal, a true liberal proposal. Then they negotiated and gave it away and went to the public option, which is essentially single payer, but you have to buy into the system. It doesn't automatically come out of your tax dollars. You have to buy into the public system. And what happened with the public option? They caved again. The Democrats caved again. They had a super majority. And they said, okay, we'll end up giving over to the Republicans more, caving again, and then they ended up with the individual mandate, which again is their plan. So the Republican plan used to be the individual mandate, or in other words, Obamacare back in the day. And now their plan evolved to, fuck it, let's do nothing. And let's pretend like this system really is good, even though the statistics were horrific. I mean, 47 million people uninsured, 45,000 people dying every year because they don't have access to basic health care, medical bills being the number one cause of bankruptcy. The conservatives, the Republicans, looked at that system, and after a while they were like, fuck it, let's just keep it the same, because now the Democrat is proposing what we used to propose as the solution, so we have nowhere to go. We'll just say, fuck it, it's perfect the way it is. So Joe Scarborough, he's just an embarrassment. Like, he's just somebody who's not qualified to do what he does. I don't give a fuck that he used to be a politician. I don't give a shit about that. When you're that off base and you're that factually incorrect, it means that you're not doing your research or you don't care about the truth. And in either situation, you shouldn't be on TV.